Hi, this is Lisa Hayden with Community Focus on Washington County, Channel 6, Central Kentucky TV. Welcome, Susan Simpson.
Hello. Thank you.
Susan is an artist, although she didn't realize it for many years, and behind me are a lot of her beautiful works. So I'm just delighted that you could be here today, Susan, and I want to talk about your opening at the gallery.
Okay, we can talk about that. I have an exhibit at the Gallery on the Square in downtown Bardstown. It's right near the old courthouse. Actually, it's the old post office building. It's a federal building. It's 101 years old.
A beautiful building.
And it used to be then the public library in Nelson County, but now it's our art gallery. And there are about 30 artists in there. And we have been, for the last, I think, at least 2 years, we have been having special exhibits in a certain area of the gallery that we've had designated. And so last year, about this time, I think, I'm a vice president of FABS, which is Fine Arts Bardstown Society. We run the gallery. We work it to keep it open. And, so, you know, no one is paid to work it. You have your work in there, your artwork, and then that's part of what you do is to work it, depending on the contract you have with the group. And anyway, Daphne Seaman, who is our vice president and in charge of the exhibits, asked me if I'd have an exhibit, and I said, are you sure about that? I was just a little startled. And she said, oh, you can do it. And so she sort of encouraged me, and I thought, well, maybe I can. So since last year, about this time, every painting that I've worked on was to possibly be in my art exhibit, my solo exhibit that I have there. I've had it since the opening, a couple of days before the opening. The opening was September 30th.
Okay.
And it has been up since then, and originally it was going to be up until the 24th, but they asked if I'd leave it another week, so it'll be up until November the 1st.
Good.
And I had a great opening. It was just wonderful, and my mother was able to come, my 93-year-old mother, because my brother came up from Augusta, Georgia, and brought her over, and she just loved it, and he did too, so that's always thrilling when you have that kind of support. But I had a lot of people in, and I was quite amazed that I even sold a lot. So it was quite a good opening for me, and I really enjoyed it. I have to mention my sister-in-law, the other Susan Simpson, because she came up from Bowling Green and stayed overnight and got a hotel room right there and helped me with everything, and was a big support, and that was real. And then we just enjoyed Bardstown the next day, you know.
Yeah.
But it was all great. So.
Yeah. Well, now, Susan, I know you weren't born and raised in Washington County, but you have been in Washington County for how many years?
Since 1978.
Okay. And you came here as a teacher.
Yes.
At Washington County High School.
And cheer coach.
And the cheer coach. Took those.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah. And you all won a lot of awards when you were cheer coach.
Yes. I started that big squad idea, you know, here in the area.
Yeah.
But teaching high school English has been my thing. I was an educator for 50 years until I retired 2 years ago in 2014. And I taught high school English for 35 years. And with that and all the writing and things that I had to do, I didn't even have time to think about art. I've always loved art. Mm-hmm. And anytime I traveled anywhere where an art gallery existed, I would go. You know, whether it was in New York to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or in Chicago to the Art Institute, or in Paris to the Louvre. I've been there a few times. I just loved art, but I never thought I could ever do it, and I certainly didn't have time to invest in it. And so,
But then well, of course, we'll go back. You retired from Washington County High School
in '95.
in '95, teaching English and being the cheerleading coach. Then you went over to Bethlehem in Bardstown
Yes.
and taught there.
6 more years in the English department.
Yes, and then you went to the library at
Well, I
there.
retired from teaching,
Okay.
but I worked for 18 months for the State Department as a coach on the CEO Continuing Education Option Program. And I worked about a day a week in the library at Bardstown High School with Tom Hamilton as the principal. And then 2 years later, after those 2 years of retirement, Bethlehem called me again and wanted me to come back and be the librarian. Well, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven in a way, because I didn't have all those papers to grade anymore. I could go and do my day's work and then go home and not have to worry about it. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But and I did that for 11 more years. So I sort of rounded out about 50 years in education.
So it's just been in the last
Since 2014.
2014 that you actually stopped working at all.
Yes.
And began to focus more on your artwork.
Right. I have to tell you how I started, though. I have lifelong artist friends, but I never thought I could do it. And I think it was 2001. I had just met Betty Brookfield that earlier that year, and it was during the July Independence Day celebration down here, and she was trying to get her Starving Artist Cafe started, and had those rooms upstairs and everything. And she came out, I was sitting at a table there, and she came out with a flyer for me to proofread, since I was an English teacher. And I said, I wish I could do this. It just sounded so fabulous, and you were going to come and stay Friday through Sunday night, you had the whole weekend there. And she said, well, you can. And I said, no, I can't. I cannot do this. I've never done anything like this. But
it was to paint, to
yes,
stay there
it was
and
a
paint.
weekend to paint.
Right, and she was going to give instruction, is that correct?
Yeah, to some extent, the way she instructs. And we were going to stay there, And so she was very inspiring and convinced me, and I paid my fee, but I had to pay an extra fee for supplies because I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
But we stayed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, Friday, she also needed a bouquet of flowers for the still life that we would do. And she asked me if I still had any, because I had lilies and other flowers. I love flowers. And
you've been in the garden club for, or the, is that what you call it, the garden club that was here?
Well, I was for a while.
Okay.
But anyway, so I got the bouquet of flowers and put it in one of my pictures and took it in, and she fixed it in the middle of the studio where there were 5 of us there, so she had 5 big easels around the room. And so we painted that, and then we painted a portrait of a little girl sitting in a wicker chair with a summer hat on her knee, and then we went out and did a landscape. So we did 3, and I mean, they weren't small paintings, they were big paintings, So I was quite astounded. And of course, I was always the last one up painting, because everybody else had gone to bed since I was, But I painted and painted and painted, and finally, on Sunday night, everybody else had gone home, and it was 9 o'clock, and I was still painting. And I could see her. She was over there in the studio room on the couch, worn out. And I said, Betty, if I go home now, will you let me come tomorrow and finish the little things I feel like I need to do? She said, yes, you can come up here and paint anytime. That's the way Betty is, So I went back the next morning and painted and painted and painted and got them finished and left them to dry. Well, when I went home that night, there was a sheet, an old sheet, on half of the garage door, and it said, "Welcome home, Picasso." And Whitey Simpson.
Whitey Simpson
That's
did
Whitey
that.
Simpson's little contribution. He was surprised, I'm sure, when he saw what I painted, and I paint nothing like Picasso. But anyway, it was all
I'm
fun.
sure he was very impressed.
But that was
His wife has so many talents.
It was amazing,
Yeah.
and it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And I had, they're in my house. They're not maybe the best of anything that's ever been done, of course, because that was my very beginning, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But then I didn't get to paint anymore until Betty invited me to go to France with her the next summer. Well, here again, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, because we stayed in this beautiful 12th century home out in the country. We had the whole house to ourselves and the surroundings, and it was beautiful, and we painted every single day. It was, we painted everything there, and then we'd go out and paint the sunflower fields, and it was just wonderful. Now, I'd have to bring those home and try to work on them some more to bring them, to life, because you can tell what they are when you do the original beginnings, but, you have to put those layers of paint on to make them really live. And so, I did that, and I went with her. I've been with her several times, but and I've taken a few classes from her out at St. Catherine when she would have classes for some of the older ladies like me. And like in 2004, I remember having a 2-week class, and then maybe just a day here and there, or a week of 2-hour classes. But not a lot, and it's just like anything, though. If you want to be good at something, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to do it a lot until the last 3 years that I worked at Bethlehem in the library. I was part-time, so I had afternoons to paint more. And then when I retired, I painted a lot. So
Yeah.
and when I had to do this exhibit, I painted every day, just about. I had to paint
Yeah, yeah.
to get it together.
Well, it's like you say, if you want to be good at something, it requires,
Yes.
practice.
Right.
And I think your practice has paid off, Susan.
Thank you, Lisa.
So, and really, I can remember seeing, as I mentioned earlier, some of your artwork when you first began, and, obviously, in addition to practice, you do have to have some talent.
I don't know.
And I noticed right away, in my opinion, you had talent.
Well, thank you.
And then with your practice, it has definitely paid off, because behind me here, you have some beautiful works. Now, are these works on exhibit at the gallery? Are these ones that...
Right. They are. I went this morning and got them, and I will go right after this and take them back, because they're supposed to stay up. And in fact, these 3 are sold.
Oh.
So
Ooh.
I have to
Wow.
go back carefully. But
Yeah.
yes.
So now here, because now this is oil on canvas,
Yes,
I guess.
these are all oil.
On
On
okay.
canvas.
And then these are
Watercolor and ink.
okay.
Yes.
And so some of that ink you got from our artist that came from Ireland, that
Brenda.
Brenda, that had
Yes.
and I really like that, how that kind of outlines the colors in there.
Right. I love it. Brenda was here. We met Brenda in Collioure in France, where we go down on the Mediterranean several times to paint. And she came there from Ireland, and that's when we first met her. It was 2009. And then she and I sort of kept in touch, and then we went, when we were back over there, I guess it was last year, 2015, she came again. And so it was just like we'd never been apart, and we had a wonderful time, and we worked up this scheme of her coming over here. And she came and stayed a month, and we had an exhibit at St. Catherine and an exhibit at the gallery where I am. And
We had her on our show.
Yes, and you had a great show, yes.
On Channel 6, and you, I think, were, no, you weren't in the, but you came with her that day.
I was here
Yes.
with her. But, well, she and I spent most of the time together, because Betty was still working, and we we did a lot. We painted together a lot. And she's the one that inspired me with the watercolors and ink. And she did scenes in the house, you know, and little focal points that were wonderful, even full rooms. But of course, you know, I love the nature and the outdoors, and I love flowers. And so I chose to make mine all flowers, and it's been so much fun. I've loved it.
Yeah.
And I made cards from some of those too.
Oh.
And note cards, you know.
That are for sale at the gallery?
Yes,
Okay.
And I made a few prints. I think, let me see. I think I made prints of that one.
Okay.
Maybe that one. I can't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, but I paint things that mean something to me, you know, for the most part. And I love landscapes because I love
The outdoors.
the outdoors and nature,
Right.
the beauty of nature. You know, I guess it's God's creation that has given us all this beauty. But
Well, right here in central Kentucky, you just have some of the most beautiful land in the
Exactly.
world.
Right.
So,
Well,
and this is certainly an example of that
Yes.
with the tobacco in the
Kentucky
barn.
Derby hanging there.
Yeah.
Well, that one, I love doing that. It was so much fun. And, of course, that means something to me because in my early life, my parents and my brother and I worked a farm, and we grew barley. So, you know,
Yeah.
that means something. And then when Whitey and I were here in Washington County, when we moved out onto a farm, we bought a 53-acre farm out Thurman Lane. It was about 5 minutes to drive to school, but we had acreage out there and barns and so forth, and so
Yeah.
our boys and you know we did it ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's sort of meaningful, and
Definitely.
so it's all good.
And then, of course,
the
here's your
sunflowers.
sunflowers
I love sunflowers so much.
that we love. I don't know if Gary can see those. And yes, I know you're a lover of sunflowers, as is Betty Brookfield.
Yes.
She loves sunflowers as
right.
well.
Well, we got that from all the fields in France and so forth. But
Uh-huh. And they are gorgeous, just gorgeous.
thank you.
And so this is your first exhibit at the gallery. And so now the is the gallery open every day? Or?
Yes, the gallery is open every day. Monday through Saturday, it's open from 10 until 6, and
Okay.
Sundays 12 until 6.
Okay.
And we really invite people to come in. There's a lot of different art in there. You know, it's
Oh, I know.
a lot of things that would be good gifts for holidays or birthdays or whatever. But it's a great
Yeah.
collection of art,
Yeah.
local art,
Right.
Kentucky art.
All
It's
local
right
artisans,
here.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
I know there's pottery, jewelry, there's, you know, paintings,
Woodwork,
woodwork.
wood turning, beautiful wood turning bowls and different things.
Wool, I think
So,
isn't there some wool products? or-
yes, and there's mosaics and glass, and
Oh, that's right.
we've got
And
a
everything.
little bit of everything. And then,
Yeah.
you know, watercolors, oils, pastels, a lot of different media that has been used. So
Yeah,
it's just really
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. So then, so people can come over and see your exhibit,
Right.
and they can also purchase
Anything and everything.
anything and everything. So that will be good for Christmas, yeah, coming up, and like you say, other occasions. So, well, Susan, I just am delighted that you could be here, and I know Whitey's proud of you. We have to mention Whitey on here because he also was a teacher here, and
Coach.
you all moved here. Of course, Whitey taught at the high school and coached for a long time up there
Right.
before he went to Bethlehem as well.
Right.
And so both of you have had careers in education, and I know that.
Yes, and he's been very supportive of me, you know, in my travels, because I travel a lot, and he cares nothing about it, but he's happy for me to go. And so you know, that allows me to see a lot more of the world and find things to do and paint, and it's
Yeah.
just, I love it. So I also have in the gallery in this exhibit photographs on canvas, and these are photographs that I took in July when I went to Guatemala for 10 days. And it was quite an experience. It was a service trip that I went on with a friend of mine, and we were taking her grandchildren, her daughter and husband were taking their children, adopted children, back to Guatemala to see their culture. And there were about 7 families, some of them just the mother and the child. And we all met down there, and we did some service days, and some of them met their real mothers, but it was quite a trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I have a display of photos from that experience.
That is good.
So I've got.
Of course, you've traveled the world, Susan Simpson, and
I've been very
I've been luckily I've been on a
know.
couple of trips with you
Yes,
to Europe with the Bethlehem students,
Yes,
and
on
that
EF.
was certainly on those EF tours, and that
Yes.
was really a nice experience. And then you served in the Peace Corps in your early years in
Colombia, South America.
Colombia, South America.
2 years I lived there.
Yeah. So you are, I'm sure you have lots of things to paint. I don't think you're going to run out of material to paint. So I'm just really happy that you brought this in, and I'm looking forward to coming over there, and I want to invite the listening audience to be sure and get over to the art gallery, to the gallery in Bardstown, called the, I always forget
It's
that,
just called the Gallery on the Square.
the Gallery on the Square.